There's some people who are just born to be entrepreneurs, and I am not not that person at all.
Today I'm sitting here with Regan. Regan, please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you for having me. My name is Regan Breeden. I do website copywriting and brand messaging for creative businesses, course creators, coaches, photographers, just kind of all spectrums. I like to say I like to work with impact makers and market shakers, but I only say that on the back end. So yeah, I've been doing this for a while. Worked with a partner for a few years and have transitioned into kind of building my own brand from there. So it's been an exciting journey, for sure. Never boring.
I love that. So walk me through like when you decided to go freelance, and like what was your thought process in that?
Yeah, I don't know if there's a definition of a normal way of going freelance, but I feel like if there is, mine was probably not it. I actually was in grad school for something called rhetoric and composition, which is essentially what we teach on Copyhackers. It's all about matching audience to messaging to be able to create a really smooth flow of communication and match the right offer to the right group. So I was already doing that with plans of living on a mountain and teaching middle school for the rest of my life. And just one day, it naturally did not feel like the best decision, or maybe the right one is a better way of saying that. And so at the time, I had a friend who was already doing things with Copyhackers and already doing copywriting and had been doing it for a few years. And she was just like, when you try to figure out what to do, why don't you just come on board, do a couple little things with me. And then since then, she's transitioned actually out of the industry to follow some other passions. And I've kind of risen up to where she was and started off on my own. So yeah, it's been a fun little ride there.
Sounds kind of like you like swapped places then.
We did, yeah, which I'm happy with. It was really lovely. Copyhackers is one of those things that gives you such a firm foundation. I mean, you can start Copyhackers and feel like you've done it for a decade instead of feeling like you've done it for 5 minutes, which was the case a couple years ago, or however long ago when I started. So it was really lovely to have someone who just kind of spoon-fed me this amazing resource. I mean, as soon as I was like, okay, how do you write a sales page? She was like, oh, no problem. And then would just send me, 10 or 11 Copyhackers articles that I would kind of piece together until I finally was like, let's just do copy school and give myself a cohesive vision for this. So that was just it made it much smoother. It was I feel like I'm on an advertisement for Copyhackers right now, but I really do believe this really was kind of how I got there. But yeah, it was a fun little way of, I keep saying the word fun. I feel like that kind of diminishes how much strategy and storytelling and so much that goes into what we do. But it was a really lovely way of being able to jumpstart into this industry. And it's been great since then.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I love the advertisements for Copyhackers. So keep it coming. That's fine. That's good for us.
It's great. Yeah.
And then also just using the word fun, like that's actually a good word to use because a lot of people just think of it. It's like, oh, it's all about the grind, the grind never stops, all of that. It's like, well, no, it can be fun. Like the connections that you're making and all of those other things that come along with it. And like even coming up with the strategies and everything that goes with it, like that can be fun. Like if you find joy in it, then there's nothing wrong with saying it's fun.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. To be honest, I see this a lot with different people I network with. There's some people who are just born to be entrepreneurs. I mean, they start life, they're ready to have the entrepreneur, like they can have 5 businesses, they're happy. And I am not that person at all. So I'm the type of person where I think a lot of it where I was like, yeah, let me just do this on the side until I get, figure out what comes next after grad school. A lot of that was just, the idea of not having something super stable has always been really terrifying to me. And there's so much even just mindset work for me that goes into really filling that entrepreneur role. And, even freelance, 10 times freelancer. I mean, I'm probably I work through it a little slower probably than most people. And so much of that is because Joe will say something like, don't call yourself a freelancer. And I'll have to spend like 2 weeks talking myself into that. It'll be this process of like I can't just run through these modules like that. But so much, I mean, with all that said, so much of this that keeps me so excited is that it is just dang fun. I mean, this is just a fun thing to be in. And it's like so engaging constantly and working with clients and seeing the growth and, that dopamine push that happens when you get some amazing sales for them. I mean, That's what kind of keeps it going, despite my need to talk myself into these entrepreneurial pursuits, you know?
Yeah, I mean, like that's like the tough part of, being your own boss. It's like, okay, like I've got to like keep myself accountable and all that stuff. So like, what are your like kind of tips and tricks to like be able to hold yourself accountable and like be able to push yourself into like continuing on?
Yeah. I mean, 10 Times Freelancer talks about theme days, which have really done wonders for me. I do think one of the big mental shifts was just, you can go to Instagram any day of the week and you have van life. I mean, freelancer is just considered like this way of somehow magically disappearing to the coast for a day trip, casually on a Thursday. And I'm not saying you can't do that with freelancing. Like you have those days where you get to take the fun, like freedom element that you see in van life and really go with it. But treating it like more of a typical work week has been so much more helpful for me personally. I think, kind of having your hands in all your pots and thinking about your business less as a thing that I'm doing to make money right now and thinking about it more as a long-term strategy that involves a lot of building and a lot of strategic work on the back end to get it where you want to go, and thinking about, being ahead of things like AI. So instead of seeing AI come on the scene and being like, oh no, this is dead and I should quit and I don't know, open an ice cream shop, I don't know, something else. I think being in that place where you're giving yourself a consistent schedule, so you're ready to pivot, you're ready to go to the next thing, and you're ready to put in the work kind of minute by minute to make those different things happen. That's been really helpful for me. So it's not like the cool answer. I feel like everyone always wants to be like, freelance is such a journey of never having to work except for an hour a day. And I've seen some freelancers who do that really well, but that's not really the path I want to take. I'm definitely in a, I said I like stability. So I'm definitely in a long-term, long-haul view of this. And so having the consistency has been the best, personally. Also a standing desk. So, like, not the right answer, really, but standing desks have been so great.
Oh, no, I think that's great. Because like, I think a lot of people don't talk about when you don't have like an office to go to every day. It's like, well, how do you set up your home workspace, wherever you're working? Like, how do you set that up to make it a place that you can be productive? And like, clearly, the standing desk has been helpful for you. Like, what other things have you found helpful, like in, making your home life part of your work life, I guess is the way to put it.
12 cups of coffee and a standing desk. That's a joke. Not 200 cups of coffee. I do think separation, whenever you can get it, is huge. Being able to have a separate space. And I do think the standing desk, in a way, it's all the like mental blocking, right? And being able to do not code switching as much, being in that place where you get to just stand somewhere and know that this is the work desk, and not touching that desk for anything else has been really helpful. And frankly, this is, again, not the answer van lifers would say, but staying away from coffee shops has actually also been really helpful. I think once you start to pay attention to how, at least for me, as I start to pay attention to how my brain reacts at coffee shops, it's just, we never are productive. There's so much stimulation and there's so much coffee that I kind of start to get too caffeinated. I think there's so many ways that disrupts that flow, and really trying to get into a flow state takes that sense of just being somewhere, which I think avoiding those places where I can't just be somewhere has been weirdly very helpful for me.
Yeah. Well, and I think people really like coffee shops because of the whole aesthetic. And it's just like, oh, I'm a writer and I'm working at a coffee shop. And it's just like, it feels really nice. But then when you're there, you're like, I'm not getting anything done because I'm just focused on how I look and how I'm being perceived as this cool writer in the coffee shop.
Exactly. And this is another advertisement for Copyhackers moment. But I think that Copyhackers does a really great job of, again, reframing that, because so much of the media we see is just seeing freelance as this very go everywhere kind of thing. I live in Portland, Oregon. And so when I say that freelance here is like an even more elevated version of that, it really is. I mean, a lot of freelancers I interact with on the daily, that's the lifestyle they're really trying to get toward and using freelance to hit. And there's nothing wrong with that. I just definitely, my brain is not there. I love the stability. I love the long-term view. So being able to really reframe that again and just, I don't know, I'm losing my words here a little bit, but just trying to be able to see business structures be applied to something that can very easily not have business structures applied to them has been really helpful. And I think that's a difference in how the Copyhackers approach takes it, where there's a seriousness about treating yourself and what you're doing, like work that is valuable and is worthy of higher pricing and is worthy of being called a business, where you're called to see, instead of it just being like, oh, I'm a freelancer. So that's been really helpful too, just as a mental game, mental reframing.
Yeah, no, and it's all about like if you want others to, see you as a professional, it's like you have to like internalize that and be like, okay, so how do I see myself as a professional, and like how am I going to make those steps? And so clearly you've done that, like with like the good time blocking and setting up your workspace in a way that works for you. Like I am actually kind of in awe of that kind of discipline, because I am when I was a freelancer, it was not like that. So it's definitely tough.
Not to interrupt. I was gonna say, I mean, you call it discipline, I call it, I mean, it's probably the only way I think that I could get through, work sessions effectively, to be honest. I mean, I feel like at a certain point it stops being discipline and it starts just being tricking my mind into really making sure that it's doing what it needs to do to keep this ball rolling. And so I guess in a form it is discipline, but in some ways I think it's just like, I don't want to say the word survival. That sounds so aggressive, but it's just a version of that, of just looking at my business and saying, like, if I want this to be serious, this isn't like a discipline or no discipline. It's just, this is what you will be doing. This is it. This is the only option for you today. So yeah, it's been interesting to build that, but
it's just like coming up with like the hard and fast rules for yourself. You're like, all right, so like this is how I'm going to get this accomplished. And then you just kind of stick with it.
I mean, I think it's a similar, again, it's the entrepreneur thing. Saw this random Instagram reel yesterday where the CEO, he said, if I knew how much work it would have been from the beginning, I never would have done it. And this is a man who's making, billions. And it was kind of one of those things where I sat there for a second. I was like, if you take everything in this view of how much work you're going to be putting into the bucket to get where you want to go, I just think it's so hard to ever do anything. I mean, that's just the way of kind of crushing it all before you even get to the place of having the fun part, like having the joy of it. And so much, I do think I take this view of just one step at a time, even the modules where it's like, we don't need to rush, this is a long-term zone where we can do one and spend the time to really integrate that before we go to the next thing. And I think I approach that, whether it's a standing desk or whether it's a Copyhackers lesson or whatever else it is. It's just, it's okay to do this one thing one time and not call it discipline and instead just call it living, I guess. Yeah,
that's a really good way to put it, because it's like, I mean, you don't have to, get all of the clients tomorrow. You can start with just doing, say, like one module one day, and then take it day by day, and it becomes a lot more manageable and it's a lot less stressful. Because if you think of it, like think of freelancing in a way, it's like, oh, well, I'm starting my own business and I have to have, 10 clients on the go at once, like right away. That's super stressful. But if you just take it step by step, then suddenly it's like, oh, suddenly I've grown, I'm seeing this growth, and I didn't have to, stress out every single day over it.
Exactly. Yeah. I think it's manageable, right? I mean, I think one of those easy traps to fall into, which I did 110%, is when you start freelancing, it tends to be pretty easy to get blog clients, because blogs are a lot of output, a lot of work, kind of everyone wants them. And before you know it, I mean, I remember 1 month, and I was used to writing. I was had fresh coming out of grad school, but 1 month, I think it was something insane, like 70,000 words of blog posts. And it was just one of those things where you're like, this is not even normal. This isn't even sustainable. And it is so true. I think there's these ways that we really want all of the perfect clients all of the time at this exact moment. We want thousands of followers in XYZ ways to get the dream that we're going for. But then I also think there's a certain level of foundational processes, which again, Copyhackers definitely builds into you, but these foundational processes you need to actually be able to manage the dreams that you're aiming for. So it's an interesting way of thinking about it. There's so many quick wins. We're in a very quick win culture, but at the end of the day, the quick wins, they need some stability to be able to, and some foundation to be able to make you actually turn those quick wins into the wins you want them to be, which has been a nice way of reframing it for myself and thinking about it differently, taking it slow in a way that makes me happy instead of frustrated.
Yeah, no, 100%. And it's like those quick wins, like they're quick for a reason. They also disappear if you don't, build on them and continue on.
Unsurprisingly, I'm not able to write 70,000 words of blog posts every month, and I'm better for it. I'm very happy that is not the journey that I'm undertaking. But of those clients, if I'd been willing, they would have happily let me continue to do that. I mean, they were all clients who were offering, some money for me to be able to whip out numerous blog posts. And again, it would have been a very easy path, but it also probably would have made me need 32 cups of coffee in a day or more. So I'm glad that that's not where we are.
Could you just walk me through your process in getting clients and how you go about doing that?
Yeah, of course. So to be honest, I'm trying to enter into the TikTok, Instagram reel game. And a lot of that is just the client base that I'm interested in is hanging out in those spaces. So I'm kind of pivoting a little bit in my approach to client getting at the moment and feeling that one out. But so much of what I've done so far has been referral based, which has been really lovely. I think I sent 3 cold emails early in my career, got a consistent client who I still work with to this day from one. And after that was just I can't do this anymore. So I've been really lucky because those work really well for some people, but I've been really lucky that referrals have been a steady stream for me. And it gives you space to do things like social media, which has taken me years to even want to attempt. So now we're kind of in that zone of pushing toward different ones. Because again, I want that long-term journey to be there. But so far it's been really just pushing to make sure that every client we have, it's not just handing them a document and walking away. Instead, it's really sitting there and making sure that we talk strategy and we see the why behind everything that we do. So when it comes time to do something that's a bigger project, like a sales page or a website or whatever it is, and isn't just a blog or a quick little something, they see the value in choosing you over an alternative they can get on Fiverr or Upwork or whatever it is. That's definitely going to be a cheaper option, but is it going to be one that, pays off in terms of sales in the long run? So that's really been where the referrals have come from, is just sitting with each client more than you probably think you need to, and giving a lot of strategy and a lot of reasoning and a lot of how and why behind the scenes so that they feel so confident that you're the one who can really help them do whatever it is that they're dreaming up in their business.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's also, you want to make sure that you're a good fit together. Because it's you don't want to just take on a client just for the sake of having a client. You want to make sure that what you do actually matches with their goals and vice versa and all that.
Right. 100%, which a lot of people would push back on, but I think that's where I'm interested, even though it's not at all fluid for me. I didn't grow up on social media. I never had an account until, recently. So even though it's not fluid for me, I see that value suddenly now that I'm in a good place with my business, and I see that value in trying to use these spaces where you connect so directly. I mean, within 30 seconds, they can see your whole personality played out and all of your strategy played out very quickly. So I think there are these avenues that I think kind of everyone's interested in seeing how they end up. But I also think knowing what to do with leads when you have them and know what to do with clients when you have them to make sure they stay clients is always the easiest path. Path of least resistance is always going to be there. So it's kind of a two-pronged pathway.
Yeah, 100%. Thank you so much for joining us, Regan. So if people want to find you online, where might they find you?
It's a great question. I am on the North Branch Copywriting Studio, mainly through my website is the best place to find me, though I have a TikTok that I created yesterday. So give me a while there. I don't think that one's going to be happening in the next day. But there's definitely some Pinterest, TikTok, Instagram happening as well at the North Branch Studio.
All right, Regan, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. I appreciate it.